Shall we stand for the singing of the national anthem? We're going to ask one of our teachers to lead us in the singing of the anthem. To thee, our loyalty and love and vow to keep you ever free. Whatever the future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true. My room fair and blessed as your mountains, I so clear and green, are home to me, though I may stray, a heaven can't serene. Whatever the future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true. Our little sister, islands of those gems, the lovely grenadine, upon the seas and golden sands, the sunshine ever beams. Whatever the future brings, our faith will see us through. May peace reign from shore to shore, and God bless and keep us true. We're going to remain standing as we invite Miss Zaronique Forbes from Girls High School to give us the invocation.
Good afternoon. Bow your heads and close your eyes. Our dear, loving, merciful Heavenly Father, I thank you for bringing us all here today safely. I thank you for bringing all our supporters here as well and the participants. I ask that you can continue to give the participants peace and help to calm any nerves that they may have. Bless the judges, the audience, the participants. Help the speakers to go through their speeches smoothly, help them to do what they practiced, and as I say these things, in the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Thank you very much. Zaronique, may have your seats. This afternoon, the distinct pleasure is given to me to welcome each one of us to this afternoon's FLU National Secondary School Public Speaking Competition for 2024. And we will have the preliminaries this afternoon of zones 1, 3, and 4. And so this afternoon we have representatives in zone 1 from the St. Vincent Girls High School, the St. Joseph Convent, Kingstown, and the Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial Secondary School, which is in Zone 1. Zone 2, we have the Mountain View Seventh-day Adventist Academy and the North Union Secondary School. And in Zone 4, we have the St. Martin's Secondary School and the Canoan Secondary School. And so this afternoon, we are delighted to have our participants as well as their supporters and cheerleaders, teachers and friends coming along to support us and to support the public speaking competition. We know this public speaking competition has been a featured in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for quite a number of years, and so we want to continue to give our support to public speaking at the secondary school level. And so this afternoon with us, we have Mr. Alex Barnwell, the CEO of TPC Productions and Marketing Agency, and he's also a representative from Flow. We also have, we should have a representative from the Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation, and a representative from the Lions Club St. Vincent South. One of the Lions will bring remarks to us. And so this afternoon, as we begin this program, I want to invite Mr. Alex Barnwell to bring remarks on behalf of Flow.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I all sound half dead. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Sounds much better now. Good job. Welcome, everybody, again to this wonderful engagement. As we have heard already, public speaking is so important when it comes to our ways of articulating and expressing ourselves. And to see such young faces here today embarking upon this with these very, if you're nervous today, it's okay to be nervous. These topics are quite vast. We're talking about CARICOM, natural disaster management. We're talking about the cannabis industry. We are also talking about ways of developing global sporting events and whatnot. And I am very interested to hear what everybody has to bring to the table today. I am not without my nerves today because I'm actually excited and at the same time a bit pensive because I used to watch this from my home all the time when I was a bit younger. And me and my mom used to be locked to the television watching this, and it's kind of surreal being here on this podium as an older person now, making these remarks, all right? Today, Flo would like to thank everybody for being here and participating in this activity. They are the supporter of a lot of community programs, engagements for over 40 years. Cable and wireless, also Flo. They partake in some vast community projects, and nonetheless, this is one of the many things that we do. That being said, all the finalists today will be receiving gifts from Flow. They will also be receiving awards from Flow, and some people will be receiving scholarships from Flow. So all finalists today will be receiving Samsung Galaxy smartphones with 1 month's free talk and data. You can clap for that. And the top 3 speakers will receive 2 years scholarships towards their tertiary education. First place, yes. First place being $2,000 for each year. The second place, $1,000 for each year. And third place, $500 for each year. And the winning school will receive $3,000 towards a school project, all right? We think long and hard about these things, and this is our way of saying thank you for making the bold step forward for doing this here today. So on behalf of Flow, we would like to thank you, the organizers, participants, schools, and supporters of the National Secondary Schools Public Speaking Competition.
Thank you very much, Mr. Barnwell, and we are happy that Flow can partner with us in this venture. I do not see the representative from the Ministry of Education, so at this time I will invite the Vice President for the Lion Club South, St. Vincent South Lion, Michael John, to bring remarks to us on behalf of the Lions Club, St. Vincent South.
Afternoon. The representative from Flow, Mr. Alex Barnwell, the principal and teachers of various schools, represented here this afternoon, 7 schools, judges, the media, listening and viewing orders, in listening and viewers, the listeners and viewers, students, fellow participants. It brings me great pleasure as the Vice President of the St. Vincent Lions Club South to bring you greetings on this our flagship, one of our flagship project. This public speaking competition is a competition that the Lions Club South hosted for several years, since in the days of cable and wireless. And we heard from the representative from cable and wireless, Mr. Alex Barnwell, some very good news in terms of the support that Flow is offering to the competition. And we at the Lions Club South are very pleased to have Flow as our long-standing partner for many, many years, as far as I could remember, in terms of this public speaking competition. And I think they really deserve another rousing round of applause. On Wednesday, we had 6 schools, and today we are having 7 schools. And I want to congratulate all 13 schools for coming forward. We know we had the setback with Beryl, and I have seen schools here year to year who would have attended this public speaking competition, and I think all the schools deserve a round of applause. I know at the end of today's proceedings, we will be choosing 6 finalists. And I want to say that all the participating schools should be proud. It's not easy to come here and stand up and speak. And even though you may not be selected as a finalist, you are all winners. And I really feel happy and proud because I know public speaking is a difficult thing. And in our communities, we are missing leaders. We are missing people who can come forward and speak. And I know from these competitions, I would have seen people who turn out to be vibrant persons in their communities and leading community groups. And I know some of the participants here will evolve to be that. So I'd like to commend you again. I'm very proud. Be proud of yourself. Put your best foot forward. You heard about what Flow is offering, so that should give you some additional impetus to move on this afternoon. So I leave the rest of the public speaking to the students. That's not the best part of me, but enjoy the rest of this evening proceedings, and all the best, students. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lion Michael. Ladies and gentlemen, we get down to why we are really here. And we are here for public speaking. And so to give you an overview of the competition this afternoon, this is what will be undertaken. Each speaker shall deliver 2 speeches, 1 prepared speech and 1 impromptu speech. For the main speech, each speaker shall speak for a period not exceeding 10 minutes. For the impromptu speech, each speaker shall have 1 minute to consider the topic and no more than 2 minutes to present his or her topic. Any speaker who utilizes less than 8 minutes of the allocated time for the main prepared speech shall have 5 points deducted from his or her total score. Participants could refer to prepared notes from which they can make their presentation. For the main prepared speech, participants not engaged in delivering their speech shall be absent from the room at the time the speech is being delivered, unless he or she has already delivered their speech. Therefore, those who are not preparing, those who have not yet delivered their speech will be escorted to a room just behind until their turn do come. All right? This afternoon we have 3 distinguished and qualified judges who graciously consented to be the determinants as to who progress forward with the public speaking into the finals. This afternoon we have with us Mrs. Simone Joseph Oliver. And Miss, just to give you an introduction as to who Mrs. Oliver is, Joseph Oliver, Mrs. Simone Joseph Oliver has spent most of her career in the ITC sector in various roles, including that of an information technology teacher and a project officer for ICT for development at the CARICOM Secretariat in Guyana. I just needed to add the in Guyana part. I just wanted to add the in Guyana part. That's okay? Yeah. That's okay. That's okay. That's where CARICOM Secretariat is. Yeah, I just wanted you to know that. Just for education. It may come on an exam, you never know. Okay, students? Just might come on an exam. Mrs. Joseph Oliver holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Computer Science and a Master of Law in Innovation, Technology, and the Law. Mrs. Joseph Oliver's current role is the Assistant Director for the e-Government Unit, and she serves as SVG's point of contact for the Caribbean Telecommunications Union Network of Women in ICT. Put your hands together this afternoon for Miss Simone Joseph Oliver. Our second judge, Ms. Colisio Mingo, is a seasoned pharmacist with over 2 decades of experience. Ms. Mingo holds a Master's of Science degree in clinical pharmacy and currently serves as the drug inspector and International Narcotics Control Board liaison at the Medicinal Cannabis Authority. Ms. Mingo is also the dedicated president of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Pharmaceutical Association. Put your hands together as we welcome Ms. Colisio Mingo. I almost said "and sandwich between 2 women." I almost said it. But our third judge, the lone male judge, Mr. Kenson Studdard, is a former geography educator who for the past 6 years have been serving as the Deputy Director of the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree, double major, in Meteorology and Computer Science, and also has a Master of Science degree in Natural Science, Natural Resource, and Environmental Management with a focus on climate change. Mr. Studdard is also a director of the Hope International Football Club, a certified coach, and a cricket enthusiast. Put your hands together as we welcome Mr. Kenson Studdard. So, ladies and gentlemen, students, these are our judges. The competition this afternoon for the main topic for Zone 1, and again, Zone 1 comprises of Girls High School, St. Joseph Convent, Kingston, St. Joseph Convent, Kingston, and JP Eustace. Our participants will be coming in order as participant number 1 will be Miss Mia Bailey from St. Vincent Girls High School. Participant number 2 would be Raj Bulls from Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial Secondary School will be participant number 2. And participant number 3 would be Miss Cheyenne Bradshaw. Cheyenne? Yes, Miss Cheyenne Bradshaw from St. Joseph Convent, Kingstown. Yes, thank you. This afternoon, Zone 1's topic is CARICOM exerting its best efforts in natural hazards, preparedness, and the management of natural disasters? Is CARICOM exerting its best efforts in natural hazards, preparedness, and the management of natural disasters? Ladies and gentlemen, participants, fellow students, we will hear whether or not CARICOM is exerting its best efforts. Okay, just before we get into hearing whether or not CARICOM is engaging its best efforts, just permit me to give you the instructions relative to the bell. For the prepared speech, the first bell when the participants take the podium and is ready to present. They will hear the first bell. The second bell is at the 8-minute mark of the prepared speech. And the third bell and final bell is at 10 minutes. And that will be a school bell ring. Bing-a-ling, bing-a-ling, school bell ring. For our impromptu speech, the first bell will ring when participants takes the podium after selecting his or her topic. The second bell will ring at the end of 1 minute. The participants begins presenting. The third and final bell will ring, school bell ring, at the 3rd minute. Total time, the total time is spent at the podium. The speech time, total time spent in preparation, and the preparation time is 2 minutes. No, sorry. The speech time is the total time and minus the preparation time. That's it? Yes. For the bell, the speech time is the total time minus the preparation time. Ladies and gentlemen, students, participants, well-wishers, we have come to the moment. Let's breathe. Okay, so we're going to invite Mr. Balls and Miss Bradshaw to follow our effervescent lion, where you'll be escorted to the room as we make way for Girls High School, Miss Mia Bailey.
Chairperson, representative of Flow, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, representative of the Ministry of Pardon? Oh, my bad. Chairperson, representative of Flow, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, representative of the Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation, Lion President Janelle George, other distinguished Lions, principal and teachers, judges, the media, listeners and viewers, ladies and gentlemen, students, fellow participants, good afternoon. Good afternoon, esteemed judges, distinguished guests, and fellow participants. It is an honor to stand before you today. On July 1st, 2024, we all watched in horror as Hurricane Beryl ravaged our island. I want you to cast your mind back to that fateful day, to the uncertainty, the fear that you felt leading up to the arrival of the storm. The wind howled with a fury unlike anything we've ever experienced, whipping trees back and forth until they snapped like twigs. Waves crashed violently against the shores, swallowing homes and resorts whole. The noise was deafening, a symphony of destruction played out by the unrelenting winds and rain. Casting your mind further to the devastation that greeted us, the once familiar landscape is unrecognizable, stripped bare by Beryl's fury. The experience was life-threatening, a stark reminder of nature's power. Having set the context, I invite you to consider this vital question. Is CARICOM exerting its best efforts in natural hazard preparedness and disaster management? When the Caribbean community was established in 1973, the rationale behind it was to promote regional and economic integration as a means of collectively strategizing and formulating ways of navigating the international order. But in recent years, the Caribbean has been facing what potentially represents our biggest existential threat. Noting that our region has always been prone to hurricanes, it seems we are in a more precarious and vulnerable position than ever before. Madam Chairperson, between 2020 and 2024, the Caribbean region faced a series of devastating natural disasters. Notable were Fiona and Beryl, Category 4 and 5 hurricanes in 2022 and 2024 respectively, both having shed light on the critical level of preparedness across the region. People fail to understand that regardless of the hurricane category, these storms triggered extensive infrastructure damage, resulted in loss of lives, and exasperated socioeconomic challenges. Despite contributing minimally to greenhouse gas emissions, the Caribbean region faces unbearably high temperatures and dire consequences. As Mia Mottley stated in her UN speech, the Caribbean cannot be held responsible for climate change when the industrialized countries have historically contributed the most to the greenhouse gas emissions. These words conceptualize the urgent need for those responsible to take accountability for their actions, which have disproportionately affected vulnerable regions like the Caribbean. Madam Chairperson, climate change has resulted in the rise in natural hazards, hence the need for urgent reassessment of our preparedness. The harsh reality is that the level of readiness of CARICOM states is alarmingly low. The preparedness often boils down to the purchasing of canned items. Time and again, essential measures such as bolting down homes, installing shutters, and ensuring roofs are securely tied are neglected, deeming us unprepared. It is time we minimize destruction by moving our building codes beyond the baseline. Moreover, there is a pervasive mentality in the Caribbean that minimizes the severity of hurricane warnings. Colloquial phrases like, "It go miss we man," and "a rainy I run from" illustrate a collective complacency where false confidence is prioritized over genuine preparedness. After a disaster strikes, the aftermath reveals further gaps in our disaster management strategy. Fiona, a Category 1 hurricane hitting the Dominican Republic in 2022, had winds of only 90 miles per hour, yet left over $1.2 billion in repairs. If these were the effects of the lowest category hurricane, where communities face agricultural destruction, power outages, and prolonged displacement, imagine those of a Category 4 and 5. Madam Chairperson, none of the adequate hostels or shelters for displaced persons have passed the necessary checks. Communication becomes nearly impossible when phone lines are down, leaving residents isolated and uninformed. Furthermore, while immediate aid is critical, it often fails to reach those who need it most. Although long-term recovery must be considered, those suffering due to the hurricane rather than those suffering before the disaster must be prioritized. Additionally, the psychological impacts are profound, yet the region lacks adequate support systems to address these needs. CARICOM must take responsibility, not only for disaster response, but also for the mental well-being of the affected communities. Madam Chairperson, lest I paint an erroneous picture of doom and gloom, in response to climate change, organizations like the National Emergency Management Organization, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, and the United Nations Environment Programme, in collaboration with CARICOM, have implemented various measures for natural hazard preparedness and disaster management. However, the question remains, are these efforts sufficient? Madam Chairperson, let us take a brief look at some of the programs. CDEMA, founded as CARICOM's main disaster initiative, coordinates national responses across the Caribbean by providing training, resources, and guidelines. Recent disaster response simulations in St. Lucia, Grenada, and Barbados have undermined true preparedness by being hampered by inadequate funding and organizational inefficiencies. Moreover, while aiming to boost disaster management through preparedness, response, and recovery, the response to Category 5 storm Beryl in 2024 revealed significant gaps. Hitting St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Beryl caused over $625 million in repairs, collectively displacing over 3,000 residents and decimating our gems in its wake, exposing grave flaws in our disaster response system. So to what extent was CARICOM's efforts effective and adequate? Union Island, a population of over 2,000 residents, was devastated by Hurricane Beryl. Uprooted trees crashed onto roofs of industrial buildings, and electrical poles quickly gave way to the raging winds, plunging the island into darkness. Displaced people in shelters vividly recalled the terror of shattering windows and slamming doors as people filed into overcrowding rooms. Imagine returning to your home and not being able to recognize the once flourishing neighborhood. Given that the Hurricane Center had warned of the approaching storm, can CARICOM truly say they mobilized their preparedness team before the storm? After all, this is what preparedness is all about. Madam Chairperson, too often is there a reactive response to situations by CARICOM rather than being proactive. Madam Chairperson, let us be realistic. Funding is currently insufficient to meet the emergency needs of 21 members and associate states. So if money is scarce, how do we prepare for future disasters? By prioritizing funding and collaborating with international donors, CARICOM can establish a dedicated disaster fund to ensure resources are available to all when needed. In conclusion, Madam Chairperson, while CARICOM's efforts in disaster management are commendable, they remain insufficient amid the urgent challenges posed by climate change. It is time to turn our fears into action, our discussions into solutions, and our vulnerabilities into strength. Together, we must insist that CARICOM rises to the occasion, for the future of our islands and our people depends on it. As we move forward, let us advocate for a more resilient Caribbean, where our communities are not just surviving, but thriving despite disasters, showcasing our resilience. Madam Chairperson, I thank you.
Put your hands together again as we thank Miss Mia Bailey from the St. Vincent Girls High School. Mia has walked with a whole entourage of supporters, and so we welcome you. Woo-hoo! Miss Bailey would have spoken for 9 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay? 9 minutes and 14 seconds. We'll give the judges a few minutes to tabulate their score while we invite from the Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial Secondary School, Miss Raj Balls. Come, put your hands together for him.
Representative of Flo, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, representative of Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation, Lion President Janelle George, other distinguished Lions, principals and teachers, judges, the media, listeners and viewers, ladies and gentlemen, students, fellow participants, good afternoon. Mr. Chairman, today's topic is highly pertinent to us in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Small island nations like ours are quite literally feeling the heat of climate change, which in recent times have been manifesting abnormal weather conditions and events with increasing frequency and severity. These hazards have been exerting their forces upon us, causing widespread damage, loss of life, and severely impacting our most vital economic sectors, tourism and agriculture. In 2017, Hurricane Irma wreaked havoc on the British Virgin Islands, Anguilla and Tortola, while Hurricane Maria similarly ravaged Dominica's coastline. 2 years later, in 2019, Hurricane Dorian devastated Bahamas and several lesser Antilles nations. More recently, the Grenadines were hit hard by Hurricane Beryl, forcing many islanders to relocate and leaving countless others without their livelihoods. Additionally, earthquakes and volcanic eruptions have caused catastrophic damage to the region's infrastructure, economies, and nations. Mr. Chairman, a 2021 report by World Risk ranked the Caribbean as the second most disaster-prone region of the world, citing its 19 active volcanoes, exposure to the sea, and vulnerability to climate change. It is evident that natural hazards and natural disasters are inextricably linked to our region and to our existence. Hence the question before us today, is CARICOM exerting its best efforts in natural hazards preparedness and the management of natural disasters? Mr. Chairman, the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues. The Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating on issues like the Caribbean community, CARICOM, seeks to enhance the quality of life for Caribbean citizens by collaborating. civil society, and the general population in hazard-prone areas. End of quote. Mr. Chairman, CDM demonstrates CARICOM's commitment to disaster mitigation and management. By emphasizing holistic community engagement, CARICOM acknowledges that the effectiveness of disaster management strategies depends on participation at all levels of society. Through CDMA and CDM, CARICOM promotes national disaster planning, encouraging member states to develop and maintain these frameworks. For example, local disaster bodies like our very own National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, encourages citizens to get involved in disaster risk reduction. Such initiatives empower communities to develop their own preparedness plans, which is essential to small islands like ours, where local knowledge can significantly influence outcomes. The recent eruption of La Soufrière serves as a teachable moment. Despite the catastrophic nature of the eruption and a chaotic evacuation process, no lives were lost, thanks to the efforts made at the national level and local community involvement. Mr. Chairman, training and capacity building is another pillar in CARICOM's disaster preparedness and management framework. The Regional Training Center, RTC, established by CDMA in 2015, takes a collaborative approach to maintain CDM standards. The RTC partners with other regional bodies, such as the Caribbean Development Bank and the Basic Needs Trust Fund. The Caribbean provides workshops and joint exercises which equips government and communities with necessary skills and knowledge, thereby enhancing local capacity. The establishment of early warning systems and the data collection procedures should also be considered as accomplishments in CARICOM's hazard risk reduction framework. Examples include the Regional Early Warning System, which focuses on providing timely alerts related to severe weather events, and the Caribbean Meteorological Organization, which works alongside national meteorological services to disseminate weather forecasts and warnings across the region. These initiatives, coupled with public awareness campaigns, help to educate communities about disaster preparedness and response protocols. Mr. Chairman, while these initiatives are commendable, there are some factors which impede CARICOM's efforts. Governments demonstrate varying degrees of commitment to the organization's initiatives. Some members struggle with inadequate resources, placing financial constraints on disaster preparation and resulting in poorly developed infrastructure, which restricts their ability to implement disaster management plans effectively. The disparity in disaster preparedness among CARICOM states, coupled with divergent political goals or ideologies, slows down decision-making. Furthermore, member states are not forced to comply with the policies of CARICOM, and there are no penalties to enforce the countries that do not contribute to regional disaster efforts. CARICOM is also overly reliant on external agencies to provide aid during times of natural disasters. In February this year, CARICOM issued a statement expressing concern that developed countries have not provided enough financial and technology and capacity building support to poorer nations address the increasingly catastrophic impacts of climate change. To strengthen its efforts, CARICOM should enhance funding mechanisms, focus on technology and innovation, boost political commitment, and promote regional best practices. In conclusion, while CARICOM has laid a solid foundation for disaster preparedness and management strategies over the past 3 decades, there remains room for improvement. The organization has since made commendable progress through CDM, yet challenges such as funding, political commitment, and technological advancement must be addressed. By enhancing collaboration, CARICOM can better equip its member states to face the inevitable challenges posed by natural hazards. Commitment to continuous improvement will ultimately determine whether CARICOM is indeed exerting its best efforts in this critical area. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you.
Put your hands together again for Raj Bowles from the Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial Secondary School, and Raj would have spoken for 8 minutes and 14 seconds. 8 minutes and 14 seconds. Put your hands together again for Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial Secondary School. Our final participant in Zone 1 is Miss Cheyenne? Okay, I'll get there. Miss Bradshaw. Let's keep it simple. Yes, we'll keep it simple. From the St. Joseph Convent, Kingstown. Put your hands together. Yeah. Let us welcome Miss Bradshaw. Sorry, this is biasness. Okay. That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. That's okay.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, listeners. Is CARICOM exerting its best efforts in natural hazard preparedness and the management of natural disasters? Over the past decade, there have been an unprecedented number of natural hazards ranging from hurricanes to earthquakes to volcanic eruptions across the Caribbean. These events have caused significant strain on the socio-economic development of individual Caribbean countries, leaving millions of dollars in damages across the region. Fortunately, many affected countries were able to recover to a great extent due to the assistance from CARICOM. CARICOM is more than a name. It is the glue that has held member states together whenever they are in despair. As such, it goes to great extents beyond trade and free movement. In 1973, CARICOM, also known as Caribbean Community, was established as the Treaty of Chaguaramas. Its objectives are to promote trade, economic development, functional cooperation, and links between Caribbean nations. Altogether, CARICOM has been very successful due to its many organizations. With this knowledge, Chairperson, does CARICOM exert its best efforts in natural hazard preparedness and the management of natural disasters? I strongly believe it does. This is achieved through the Caribbean Development Fund, the Caribbean Development Bank, and CDMA. Chairperson, one way by which CARICOM has exerted its best efforts in relation to natural hazards is by the establishment of the CARICOM Development Fund, the CDF, in 2008. The aim of this fund is to, and I quote, address the disparities among member states of the CARICOM and support various sectors including agriculture, infrastructure, sustainable energy, tourism, and climate change. Due to the establishment of the CDF, many member states have benefited tremendously in the wake of natural disasters. This is done by ensuring they access financial assistance when they're in need. On January 29, 2024, CARICOM and the United States added $100 million to the Fund for Regional Development for natural disasters due to climate change. The purpose for this donation is to, and I quote, invest in resilience and climate change in the Caribbean. Fortunately, the fund is made available to help CARICOM member states when they are affected by natural hazards. Due to the procurement of these funds, in 2023, Belize was able to access $78 million for the construction of a coastal highway, while on September 11, 2024, St. Vincent and the Grenadines and Grenada each received $100,000 cash contribution for hurricane barrel recovery, while an additional $250,000 was given to SVG for further assistance. Chairperson, due to CARICOM's ability to be proactive in procuring funds for natural disasters, member states, especially the smaller ones, are able to access financial assistance from the CDF's Emergency Disaster Assistance Facility. In terms of hazard preparedness, which refers to a set of measures undertaken in advance by governments, organizations, communities, or individuals to better respond and cope with the immediate aftermath caused by natural hazards. The CDF has proven that it has put measures in place to aid its members. Secondly, the Caribbean Development Bank, CDB, is another organization set up by CARICOM to aid with both hazard preparedness and management. This institution was established in 1969 and on January 26, 1970 became operational. Its purpose is to, and I quote, contribute to the harmonious economic growth and development of member countries in the Caribbean and promoting economic cooperation and integration among them. Through the CDB, member states have the ability to borrow loans in the aftermath of emergencies. On May 5, 2021, the CDB provided over $135,000 US in assistance for relief supplies after the eruption of the Lasso volcano. Then, in July of that same year, an additional $5.3 million US was approved for volcanic recovery. More recent, the CDB assisted St. Vincent and the Grenadines with $250,000 EC dollars, as well as the deployment of staff to assist with immediate response and support after the passing of Hurricane Beryl. Such efforts and immediate response demonstrate CARICOM's ability to aid in disaster management. The Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA, is another organization attached to CARICOM that deals with disaster management. Unlike the CDB, whose main focus is to provide financial assistance after a disaster, CDEMA encompasses local organizations and personnel to the operation after the disaster. Through CDEMA, affected CARICOM member states can make an immediate and coordinated response to any disastrous event affecting any member state of CARICOM once the state requires assistance. This is done by CDEMA providing relief from warehouses located throughout the region, which are made readily available as soon as the all clear is given after a natural disaster by mobilizing human resource and plan receive efforts. Additionally, CARICOM's RSS Regional Security System, under the auspices of CDEMA, is also involved in the disaster response preparations, where they provide assistance with research, rescue, and recovery operations. Although these benefits that member states receive come at a significant cost, CARICOM has found ways for paying for them. One such way is by having members pay into a disaster preparedness pot through CDEMA, as well as having countries like the US that significantly contribute to climate change, resulting in the intensity of natural disasters, pay into the CDF. Also, the CDB provides loans to further facilitate recovery efforts. Therefore, such implementations allow for small and vulnerable member states that struggle in high debt, limited official space, and difficulties in allocating resources effectively to continue to benefit from CARICOM. Moreover, at a national level, CARICOM member states like St. Vincent and the Grenadines have emergency agencies, which are equipped for both hazard preparedness and management. One such agency is the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, here in SVG. Before the recent passing of Hurricane Beryl, NEMO warned Vincentians that the hurricane is to be taken seriously, as it is going to make landfall here, and urged citizens to make the necessary arrangements in preparation for the hurricane. Sadly, the hurricane indeed made landfall and ravaged the southern Grenadines, leaving over $400 million worth of damages. Since then, hundreds of families have received food supplies, school supplies, and housing under the supervision of NEMO. Additionally, the rebuilding phase has begun under the Relief, Recovery, Reconstruction Program, where persons who have lost their homes due to the passing of Hurricane Beryl are having them rebuilt under the management of NEMO. Chairperson, this response by NEMO shows its ability to respond and manage disasters. In conclusion, CARICOM is indeed exerting its best efforts in natural hazard preparations and the management of natural disasters. It has collaborated with several regional organizations in order to monitor and track weather systems. They work with CDEMA, which is responsible for disaster preparedness and response efforts. They also partnered with CMO, Caribbean Meteorological Organization, to focus on accurate weather forecast and climate data. These collaborations upgrade regional capacity to respond to weather threats and to improve the awareness of natural disasters. Their donations and excessive help to Caribbean nations will not go unnoticed. Without their help, most countries, including ours, would not have been able to recover this quickly and efficiently. Their donations have helped so many communities and countries. Without them, our nation and other countries would not have been able to recover quickly. Therefore, we must give our utmost thanks to CARICOM for hearing our cry for help and giving us their support. I thank you. And giving us their support. I thank you. We must give our utmost thanks to CARICOM for hearing our cry for help and giving us their support. I thank you. We must give our utmost thanks to CARICOM for hearing our cry for
presentation, and Miss Cheyenne. Miss Cheyenne Bradshaw spoke for 9 minutes and 17 seconds. 9 minutes and 17 seconds. So here we have the prepared speech for zone number 1, comprising St. Vincent Girls High School, who was represented by Miss Mia Bailey. Our first participant, Mr. Raj Bulls from Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial Secondary School, participant number 2, and our third participant, Miss Cheyenne Bradshaw. High five. Miss Cheyenne Bradshaw from St. Joseph Convent, Kingstown. 10 out of 10, miss. I don't need to go back to school again. All right, 10 out of 10. We have some good teachers here. So we now get into our impromptu segment. I will go for the bag with questions inside, and we will ask with topics, not questions. And so we will ask each participant to pull one topic, then they will be given a minute to prepare. And just let me remind you of the bell rules. So just a reminder of the bell rules for the impromptu. The first bell will ring when the participant takes the podium after selecting his or her topic. The second bell will ring at the end of 1 minute after the participant has scribbled and is ready to present. And the third and final bell, the school bell, will ring at the end of 3 minutes. All right? Do you have papers to scribble? Don't have any paper to write on for the impromptu? You can write on the back of your prepared speech. All right? Yeah, we will give you that luxury of writing on the back of your prepared speech. Yes. Ready? Okay, so I come with my goodie bag. Oh, so they come one by one? Okay, so we'll call number one first. I was just going to number one, number two, number three. Okay, one at a time. So number one will come. Give it to me now so I can read it. So, Miss Mia Bailey from St. Vincent Girls High School will speak on the topic good manners. Good manners.
Protocol already having been established, good afternoon, everyone. So first, I want to just bring back up this quote. Very mindful, very respectful, very demure. We've all heard this, right? TikTok? Yeah, okay. First of all, I want to say that having good manners does not mean that it's only for the persons in authority. It means for everybody around you, your peers, your friends, your teachers, your mother, your father, etc. Okay? So, when I say good manners, I don't mean you necessarily have to speak good standard English. It doesn't matter how you speak, as long as the words that you speak are nice. I personally believe that good manners is a tool that everybody should have, because I'm not understanding of why people just think they can disrespect each other. It's like, it's not cool, it's not cute, so why do it? So, I just want to bring you back to the point. Being respectful, being polite, being nice to other people around you, that all comes under good manners. But that's not the only thing. Let me remind you of the point I made before. Being respectful to everyone around you. If you're not being respectful to everyone around you, that's not good manners. And it's not cool, and it's not cute. So back to the quote. Very mindful, very respectful, very demure. Let me bring you back here. When I said a tool that everybody should have, I'm not talking about everybody in this room. I'm talking about everybody on the street, everybody in the house, wherever they walk. I'm talking about everybody in the schools. Having good manners is one thing that we should have in a school. Because if you're not having good manners in the school, and you're not taught good manners at home, how are you supposed to implement that in your surroundings? So I personally believe good manners should be taught at home, by your parents, by your peers, and by everyone around you. And remember, very mindful, very respectful, and very demure. Madam Chairperson, I thank you.
Good manners. Very mindful. Very demure. Miss Bailey spoke for 2 minutes and 9 seconds. 2 minutes, 9 seconds. We'll invite Mr. Balls from Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial Secondary School to do his impromptu speech. Mr. Ball's topic is birds. Birds.
Ladies and gentlemen, please permit me to adopt the protocol that has already been established. The topic I will be speaking on today is birds. Birds, a wonderful creation of God. Those creatures with flapping wings and wonderful colors. When I think of a bird, I think of free. Freeness to fly in the air without a care in the world. There are many varieties of birds. There are hummingbirds, hawks, eagles, vultures, and many other birds. Some can't fly, some are fat, some live in the Arctic. But there's this one thing about a bird. They are always free. And when I think of free, I think of a bird. Of course, not all birds can fly, as I already said. But if you think of a bird yourself, you can be free. And with that freeness, you can do anything you please. So, wrapping up on my topic today on birds, I implore you to be free like a bird. I thank you very much.
Birds. Free like a bird. Mr. Ball spoke for 1 minute and 12 seconds. 1 minute and 12 seconds. At this time, we'll invite our final participant in zone number 1, Miss Bradshaw. Miss Bradshaw's topic is winners. Winners.
Good afternoon, everyone, again. Since our protocols have been already established, I present to you with my topic, winners. When we think of winners, we think of people who have established something, they have a goal in mind, they have achieved it, they won something. We think of people who have big dreams, big goals, and they have already achieved it. But being a winner does not mean that you have already achieved something. Well, it does, but like it's not supposed to be something big. Like let's say you something like a hero. You go and do a heroic act. You become a winner suddenly. But as someone said this morning, we are all winners, and I deeply agree with that. But when you become a winner, if you think of yourself as a winner, and other people also think of you as a winner, they would look up to you, they would want to be like you, but it can also spike an act of jealousy within them. But I want you to think of yourself as a winner. Don't pay any mind to them. Just remember that everyone in this room, each and every one in this room, we are winners, and we all have goals in mind. We have to set those goals, achieve them. Don't be a hero that would sacrifice the world, that would sacrifice one person for the world. We all have to sacrifice the world for that one person. I know it might not make sense, you might not understand me, but we can all be winners in our own way. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss Bradshaw. And Miss Bradshaw spoke for 1 minute and 47 seconds. And so put your hands together, ladies and gentlemen, for all our participants. And if we are to remember anything from our impromptu speech this afternoon, we must remember to be mindful. Huh? Be cute. Be demure. Be free like a bird. Huh? And be a winner. Be a winner. Put your hands together again for our participants. This brings us to the end of zone number 1. And so, do we leave them here? Huh? So we're going to ask our esteemed participants to take a seat in the audience while our judges do their tallies and we prepare for zone number 2. Zone number 2 will comprise, zone number 3, Zone number 3, which will comprise of the Mountain View Adventist Academy and the North Union Secondary School.
Good afternoon, everyone. I will now like to invite participants from the Mountain View Adventist Academy and the North Union Secondary School to come forward so you can select the order of appearance. At this time, I will also like to thank Lion Sigmund for chairing the first half of our afternoon's presentations. Just to remind you of our topic for Zone 3, it is for developing countries, hosting of global sporting events can only result in benefits. Again, for developing countries, hosting of global sporting events can only result in benefits. I will now ask the participant from the North Union Secondary School to, before you leave, I'll just give you an overview of the rules, okay? Each speaker shall deliver 2 speeches, 1 main prepared speech and an impromptu speech. For the main speech, each speaker shall speak for a period not exceeding 10 minutes. For the impromptu speech, each speaker shall have 1 minute to consider the topic and no more than 2 minutes to present his or her topic. Any speaker who utilizes less than 8 minutes of the allocated time for the main prepared speech shall have 5 points deducted from his or her total score. Participants could refer to prepared notes from which they can make their presentation. For the main prepared speech, participants not engaged in delivering their speeches shall be absent from the room at the time the speech is being delivered unless he or she has already delivered his or her speech. And for the main topic, the judges are looking for material, 20 points, manner, 10 points, language, 10 points, voice, 10 points, a total of 50 points. So I will now ask the participant from the North Union Secondary School to be escorted to the back room while we prepare to listen to the speaker from Mountain View Adventist Academy. Again, join me in welcoming Samara Lynch as she speaks on the topic for developing countries, hosting of global sporting events can only result in benefits. Welcome, Samara.
Mr. Chairperson, representative of Flo St. Vincent and the Grenadines, representative of the Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation, Lion President Janelle George, other distinguished Lions, principals and teachers, judges, the media, listeners and viewers, ladies and gentlemen, students, fellow participants, good afternoon. Mr. Chairperson, I am not surprised that the topic for our public speaking competition is hosting global sporting events can only result in benefits for developing countries, end of quote. Chairperson, before I state my position on this topic and present supporting arguments, permit me to define what I consider to be key terms. According to the Cambridge Dictionary, a developing country is, and I quote, a country with little industrial and economic activity and where people generally have low incomes, end of quote. Benefits, quote, are advantages or improvements that you can get from something, end of quote. Chairperson, this topic is making the assertion that hosting global sporting events in countries that has little economic activities is advantageous. I am in full agreement with this. My presentation will show how these events provide immense opportunities for economic growth, international exposure, infrastructural development, and long-term societal benefits for these countries, including St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Firstly, Chairperson, the most obvious advantage of hosting major international sporting events is the economic boost that these countries receive. These events frequently serve as a catalyst for both short and long-term economic growth in developing nations. Hosting the Olympics, FIFA World Cup, Commonwealth or Carifta Games attracts millions of spectators, athletes, and visitors to the hosting country. The local economy benefits financially from this influx of tourists, especially in the hospitality and transportation industries. Take, for example, Chairperson, Brazil's hosting of the Olympics in 2016, and the FIFA World Cup in 2014. These events significantly boosted the local economies. Not only did the tourism industry generate thousands of jobs, but it also created jobs in construction, catering, and event management. Even though Brazil's economy may not have completely changed, many local communities benefited. This cannot be understated, as these events provide opportunities for individuals to gain employment, learn new skills, and improve their livelihoods, which is critical for developing nations. Chairperson, in the case of South Africa, hosting the 2010 FIFA World Cup led to the creation of 130,000 jobs. The increased exposure to international tourists and visitors allowed businesses to thrive in ways and expand in ways that they could not have before. Yes, some economic concerns remain, but the benefits of increased employment and business expansion cannot be ignored. Secondly, major infrastructural projects are required for international sporting events. Developing nations hosting these events are urged, if not compelled, to make investments in expanding their stadiums, modernizing their cities, and improving their transportation systems in order to handle the influx of visitors. Long-term infrastructural upgrades result from this, which would not have happened otherwise. Chairperson, take the case of Beijing, which hosted the 2008 Olympics. While China was already on the rise economically, the Olympics acted as a major push to accelerate infrastructural development. The city improved its airport, expanded public transportation, and modernized its facilities, all of which continue to benefit the local population to this day. When it comes to developing nations, Chairperson, these investments frequently result in the transformation of cities and regions. New hotels, highways, and airports are built, which boost tourism in the long run. These infrastructure improvements can benefit the nation for decades after the event ends. Thirdly, hosting a global sporting event places a developing country in the global spotlight. Media coverage of such events reaches billions of people worldwide, offering the host nation a unique opportunity to showcase their culture, heritage, and capabilities on the world stage. This soft power can enhance a country's global image, attract foreign investment, and improve diplomatic relations. For example, Qatar, a small but rapidly developing country, was set to host the 2022 FIFA World Cup. The international attention this event has garnered has already brought significant investment into the country. Investors are eager to take advantage of opportunities presented by a nation that has established itself as a serious player in the global arena. For developing countries, this international exposure is invaluable. It provides a platform to challenge outdated stereotypes and to show the world that they are capable of hosting world-class events, attracting investments, and becoming key players in the global economy. An additional and important advantage of holding international sporting events is the increase in tourism. Tourism is one of the main sources of income for many developing nations. They can greatly boost tourist arrivals by hosting these events both during and after the event. The tourism sector grows over time because many visitors come back after experiencing a nation's hospitality and culture during an event. An excellent example of this is our very own St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the rest of the Caribbean by extension. We significantly upgraded our Annesville Sporting Complex to hold the ICC Men's T20 World Cup, enabling us to host additional sporting events locally, regionally, and internationally. In the Searchlight newspaper, Dr. Kishore Shallow stated, quote, "The ICC Men's T20 World Cup holds immense promise for the Caribbean, not just in terms of cricketing fervor, but also as a catalyst for economic growth and regional development," end of quote. Our tourism industry has seen a rise in revenue as a result of this development as more visitors come to see sporting events. Our local craftspeople, restaurants, taxi drivers, and hotels have all greatly profited from these improvements and the hosting of these events, furthermore proving his point. On a sociological level, hosting global sporting events encourages a culture of sports and wellness inside the country. As a result, people place more value on sports and physical activity, which is crucial for developing countries that are struggling with public health. Some may counter that organizing international athletic events may result in debt, excessive expense, or even resource mismanagement. They may bring up instances such as Greece following the 2004 Olympics, where a lack of preparation resulted in financial hardship. But I would contend that these occurrences are the exception rather than the rule. When a nation makes strategic plans and puts long-term vision into action, the possible advantages often exceed the risks. Moreover, many developing countries now partner with international sponsors, leverage public-private partnerships, and ensure better financial planning to minimize costs. Countries like Russia during the 2018 FIFA World Cup or Brazil during the 2016 Olympics demonstrated that despite some challenges, these events can still generate positive legacies. Mr. Chairperson, in conclusion, even though holding international athletic competitions presents certain difficulties, the advantages for developing nations ultimately exceed the drawbacks. These events offer revolutionary prospects ranging from societal health and international exposure to economic growth and infrastructural developments. If handled well, they provide emerging countries a special opportunity to quicken their pace of development, boost their standing internationally, and raise the quality of life for their people. Thus, I firmly believe, Mr. Chairperson, that for developing countries, hosting global sporting events can definitely result in benefits. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Samara. Can we give another round of applause to Samara Lynch? And Samara spoke for 9 minutes and 49 seconds. 9 minutes, 49 seconds. Just to go through some of the criteria that the judges are looking for: material, 20 points, manner, 10 points, language, 10 points, voice, 10 points, a total of 50 points. At this time, we would like to welcome the representative from the North Union Secondary School, Ms. Kyra Johnson.
Representatives of FLO, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, representative of Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation, Lions President Janelle George, other distinguished Lions, principal and teachers, judges, the media, listeners and visitors, ladies and gentlemen, students, fellow participants, good afternoon. Imagine a small tree in a vast forest. When a larger tree is cut down, this struggling tree suddenly gains access to abundant sunlight. This sunlight symbolizes the global attention a developing country receives when it hosts a major sporting event. While this extra sunlight enables the tree to grow taller and stronger, it also introduces certain risks. Excessive exposure can dry out its roots, and without proper management, the advantages could be fleeting. This analogy reflects the experience of developing countries hosting global sporting events. According to the World Bank, developing countries are defined as nations with a low gross domestic product per capita, limited industrialization, and often a reliance on agriculture. Considering this definition, we can confidently assert that hosting global sporting events not only yields benefits for developing countries, but also poses potential risks and challenges that require careful attention. Mr. Chairperson, hosting a global sporting event provides a significant economic boost to host nations, particularly developing nations, through increased tourism, hotel occupancy, and local service spending. The World Travel and Tourism Council estimated that ICC Cricket World Cup generated an estimate of $300 million in revenue for the region. Mr. Chairperson, the revenue generated from such events is crucial for regions recovering from economic downturns like the pandemic, as it can fund public services, infrastructure improvements, community development projects creating lasting legacy and job opportunities in event planning, logistics, security and hospitality, reducing unemployment rates, and boosting community morale. Mr. Chairperson, major sporting events often require significant investments in infrastructure that can yield lasting benefits. For instance, during the 2014 FIFA World Cup in Brazil, there were substantial upgrades to public transportation systems, including the introduction of new metro lines and enhancements to airports. The improvements are not just temporary fixes, they are essential developments that will continue to serve the region for many years. As Jack Rogue, the former president of the International Olympic Committee, IOC, aptly stated, and I quote, "The Olympic Games are a catalyst for change, a chance to improve infrastructure and promote economic development that will benefit the host city and country long after the Games have concluded." End of quote. I fully support this perspective, Mr. Chairperson. Moreover, hosting a global sporting event offers developing countries a unique opportunity to boost their global profile, showcase their stunning landscapes, vibrant culture, and warm hospitality. Mr. Chairperson, South Korea graduated to a developed country after successfully hosting the 1988 Summer Olympics. In fact, the International Olympic Committee highlighted, and I quote, "The Olympic Games, Seoul, 1988 contributed to the transformation of Korea's image, both internally and externally. From a power-stricken and divided country to a rising economy open to international cooperation." End of quote. Mr. Chairperson, isn't this the kind of exposure that developing countries aspire to achieve? In addition, the ICC Cricket World Cup 2024 attracted over 500 million viewers, boosting the region's global visibility and attracting tourists and foreign investors, making it a desirable travel destination and a potential business hub. Alternately, Mr. Chairperson, although hosting global sporting events can lead to economic growth, they also pose financial risk, especially for developing nations with limited resources. The cost of upgrading infrastructure and accommodating international visitors can strain the government's budget. Diverting funds from critical services like healthcare, education, and public welfare. Is it justifiable to prioritize international tourists over the needs of our own citizens? In the Caribbean, for instance, regional governments invested millions in infrastructure upgrades and event logistics for the ICC Cricket World Cup 2024. Reports indicated that countries like St. Vincent and the Grenadines incurred approximately $38 million in expenses, a significant burden on our national budget. This financial reality demands careful consideration of the trade-offs involved in hosting such high-profile events. Moreover, Underutilized infrastructure in nations post-sporting events often leads to white elephant projects, such as the Olympic stadiums in Atlanta and Athens. These facilities remain empty and require ongoing maintenance. These wasteful resources could have been directed towards more impactful community projects. You may ask, what do all of these host countries have in common? They are not a developing country. Therefore, they can afford to take on these risks. However, Mr. Chairperson, if facilities built in developing countries for global events follow a similar path, they could face financial burdens and no long-term returns. What's more, Mr. Chairperson, Brazil, a developing country, was given the opportunity to host the 2016 Olympic Games in Rio. The result? Many of the facilities built were left in disrepair and were deserted due to poor maintenance. I must revisit a key factor, its reliance on agriculture. With many islands like St. Vincent and the Grenadines exhibiting rugged and mountainous terrain. Mr. Chairperson, this leads me to pose this question. Despite sourcing funding for an international event, would our terrain accommodate the construction of necessary Olympic Games facilities like modernized swimming pool, volleyball arena, and a basketball court? Additionally, the FIFA World Cup's requirement for host countries' stadium capacity is 40,000 to 80,000 seats. Our Annisvale Sporting Complex has a seating of only 18,000 seats. So, Mr. Chairperson, although this may work for qualifiers, if the $38 million was spent only for repairs for our sporting complex, just how much money would we need to create new bigger facility to suit FIFA standards? Outside of FIFA's football and ICC cricket matches, how often can we expect an 80,000 seat stadium to be full again? Mr. Chairperson, indeed, hosting global sporting events like the ICC T20 World Cup tournament and FIFA's World Cup can certainly result in benefits for developing countries. But it is not without its risks. On one hand, these events bring a surge in tourism, create jobs, and provide a platform for infrastructure development, as we saw in the Caribbean. On the other hand, the financial risk and potential for underutilized infrastructure burdens developing countries long after the event is over. Much like the small tree basking in newfound sunlight, the benefits of hosting a global sporting event can spur growth, but not carefully managed. They can also lead to financial strain and missed opportunities. Therefore, it is crucial for developing countries to balance the potential rewards with long-term costs, ensuring that the exposure they receive leads to sustainable growth, not just temporary gains. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kyra Johnson. And can we have another round of applause for Kyra Johnson? And ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our main topic for this afternoon. Kyra spoke for 8 minutes, 45 seconds. We would give the judges a bit of time so they can do their tallying before we move into the impromptu segment. I would now give the rules for the impromptu segment. The first bell would ring when the participant takes the podium after selecting her topic. The second bell at the end of 1 minute. The participant would then begin her presentation, and the third and final bell at the end of 3 minutes. So the participant has 1 minute to prepare and 2 minutes to present. I will now call on our first speaker in the impromptu segment, Samara Lynch, to select her topic from this envelope. And Samara will speak on the topic fear. Fear. F-E-A-R, fear.
Protocol has already been established. Good evening. The topic I have chosen is fear. First off, let me define what is fear. Fear is an overwhelming feeling that we receive when we are frightened or in a situation that causes us to be nervous. Many persons have different types of fears. Some persons are afraid of dogs, some persons are afraid of heights, some persons are even afraid of the dark, and some persons are afraid of failing when they do certain things. I myself am afraid of speaking in public places. So we, as children of God, should not be fearful. We are urged in the Bible to fear God, but that does not mean we should be afraid of him or run from him. It means that we should respect him and reverence him whenever we are in his presence, or whenever we are in church. We should be respectful, and we should always strive to do our best in front of him. In conclusion, even though fear overwhelms us sometimes, we should always take our fears to God and pray, and always be hopeful that he would take care of us and take the fear from us. I thank you.
Thank you, Samara Lynch. And she spoke on the topic fear, and the time was 1 minute, 24 seconds. As we prepare, we give the judges some time to tally their scores. Again, I will just go over the rules for the impromptu. The first bell, when the participant takes the podium and select her topic. The second bell, at the end of 1 minute, the participant would then begin presenting. And the third and final bell would ring at the end of 3 minutes. So again, a total of 2 minutes to speak maximum and 1 minute to prepare your topic. I will now invite Kyra Johnson from the North Union Secondary School to select her topic. And Kyra will speak on the topic taxes. Taxes.
Taxes. Protocol has already been established. In my opinion, I think that taxes are fees that comes out of people's payments. There are a lot of complaints from what I have heard. Even me, myself, when I watch my receipt, I see taxes on there, and it's a lot. I think this is a risk to persons who are not financially stable, and I think that they should reduce it, but since there's a lot of implants in the Caribbean, there is a raise in taxes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kyra Johnson. And Kyra spoke for 1 minute, 51 seconds. Let's now give a round of applause to both of our participants in... My apologies, 51 seconds. Okay, so let's give a round of applause to both of our participants in Zone 3. That concludes judging in Zone 3. We will now prepare ourselves to listen to speakers in Zone 4. St. Martin's Secondary School and Kanawan Secondary School. And as the judges prepare their tally sheet, I will now go over the rules for the competition. Each speaker shall deliver 2 speeches, 1 prepared speech and an impromptu speech. For the main speech, each speaker shall speak for a period not exceeding 10 minutes. For the impromptu speech, each speaker shall have 1 minute to consider the topic and no more than 2 minutes to present his or her topic. Any speaker who utilizes less than 8 minutes of the allocated time for the main prepared speech shall have 5 points deducted from his or her total score. Participants could refer to prepared notes from which they can make their presentation. For the main prepared speech, participants not engaged in delivering their speeches shall be absent from the room at the time the speech is being delivered unless he or she has already delivered his or her speech. And our 2 participants in this zone, they will be speaking on the topic, can the cannabis industry be considered a viable proposition for farmers and emerging entrepreneurs? Again, can the cannabis industry be considered a viable proposition for farmers and emerging entrepreneurs? And for the order of appearance, Kanawan Secondary School will be speaking first, followed by the St. Martin's Secondary School. I will now give the instructions for the bell. The first bell, when the participant takes the podium and ready to present. The second bell would ring at the end of 8 minutes, and the third and final bell at 10 minutes. The main topic would be some of the requirements are the material, 20 minutes, manner, 10, language, 10, voice, 10, a total of 50 points. I will now ask Lion Michael to escort the St. Martin's participant from the room while we prepare for the Kanawan Secondary School. Okay, and just to inform you, our audience, that later on this evening, we will be announcing our 6 finalists. So stay tuned to your various media platforms where we will have a media release. At this time, I will now welcome to the podium to make her presentation on the topic, can the cannabis industry be considered a viable proposition for farmers and emerging entrepreneurs? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Nia McLaurin.
Chairperson, representative of Flow, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, representative of the Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation, Lion President Janelle George, other distinguished Lions, principals and teachers, judges, the media, listeners and viewers, ladies and gentlemen, students, fellow participants, good afternoon. I just wanna smoke, drink, I love my boy to some reggae. I have some weed and a bottle of booze. All I wanna do is smoke, drink, I love my boy to some reggae. Free war boss! I know. That's not what he was in for. I am, however, very sure that we have heard or seen, whether on TV or social media, the people's outcry for someone to be freed from jail. Surprisingly, or maybe not so surprising, many of these instances were persons incarcerated for what? Marijuana. It is for many reasons such as this that the cannabis industry has always been a point of high debate. However, in the recent years, many countries and regions have begun to relax their regulations concerning its cultivation and commercialization. On our small island, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the industry has shown promising opportunity for possible success. There are numerous risks and uncertainties which outweigh the prospective benefits for those hoping to catch a break in the market. Therefore, the moot before us stands. Can this, the cannabis industry, truly be considered a viable option for farmers and emerging entrepreneurs in St. Vincent and the Grenadines? I propose that no, it cannot. The cannabis industry cannot be considered a viable option for farmers and emerging entrepreneurs. Firstly, it goes without saying, the government stands to benefit more by collecting revenue from this venture. By issuing license, the government creates a steady stream of income. In order for farmers to be able to legally be included in this venture, they have to pay for their license to cultivate the plant, something they could have been doing already for free on their own. This is also a process which can be very complex and require meticulous attention to detail. They, the government, may also prioritize larger businesses as opposed to small-scale businesses, as the risk may prove to be lower than reward. This would definitely leave the farmers and small upcoming entrepreneurs at a disadvantage. The larger businesses could give a turnover of product quicker than that of a small-scale farmer. Added to taking their money from the paying of a license, most traditional farmers may not be able to meet the requirements necessary to produce cannabis legally. It takes a lot out of pocket to start a business, much less entering a new industry. Small-scale farmers, many of whom already struggle with the limited financial resources, are likely to continue struggling to transition into cannabis cultivation. The capital to start up and finding an adequate location or building that would meet the standards necessary can prove demotivating. The need may also be there for education, training, technical and technological assistance. And we must admit it can be very difficult to teach an old dog new tricks. As driven as one sometimes can be, if the government does not actively play a role in aiding to provide sufficient support infrastructure to assist, these aspiring individuals may struggle to succeed. Additionally, compliance rules also result in heavy regulation. There are strict requirements for cultivation and rigid standards, and many of these rules demand significant legal and technical expertise, even to navigate the relationship between the government itself, if not with global entities. The financial burden of compliance can outweigh the potential profits. This challenge can continually discourage our small-scale farmers entering the industry. Let's assume the government then actively invests, playing a major role in the farmers' establishment. As a result, they now have majority say and control as to what takes place. The farmer wants to harvest today, government says no, tomorrow. This takes away from the enthusiasm of willing farmers, as they will feel as if they have no say in the ongoings of their own business. Even if given total leeway, no questions asked, runnings of the business, as a business owner, the farmer is unable to make a name for himself. As the produce is brought to the government, it is taken, branded, and marketed as whatever is dictated by the powers that be, not what the farmer may creatively want. Their business would also not be able to establish itself as a reputable brand to be purchased from, as it all becomes mainstream government-branded products. By extent, there would be a disadvantage in the controlled sale of the substance. Currently, the price you would pay on the streets for an ounce of cannabis is in no way the amount that would be paid in the government-controlled system. The standardizing of the price per pound or ounce of cannabis would in turn only motivate persons, farmers, or entrepreneurs to continue to do their own thing under the radar, as opposed to being a legal entity. In the same breath, due to the legalization aspect of the cannabis industry, it can lead to saturation in the market. The industry continues to prove to be an industry which has high potential for high profits. There is now hardly any hide and seek when it comes to the growing or purchasing of the product. The stigma is gone. However, with the possible saturation, it makes it more difficult for one to stand out. It also opens up to gluts, as farmers who are not traditional cannabis farmers may also try to infiltrate the market. As in any business, workers are needed to help keep the ship sailing. Finding persons who are skilled and knowledgeable in this particular niche may prove to be more difficult than expected. It may also result in wage pressure, which may create competition for workers and causing there to be a high turnover rate. Lastly, the cannabis industry is a volatile market, and farmers could face financial uncertainty depending on the preference of consumers. This dependency on market trends can cause there to be a lack in the maintenance of quality of products being produced. There are so many different strains of cannabis, and as with any drug, the aim is to experience that first high above all else. Yes, we know there are many other benefits, but what is cannabis really known for? Due to this, when a consumer gets used to a particular strain, they would gravitate to something new in an aim to feel something different. As the business owner, if you cannot offer this product or service to your client, then they would start the search to obtain product elsewhere. This in turn affects the farmers and business owners' income. The truth of the matter is, the cannabis industry here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines holds promise, but there needs to be an adequate measures put in place to ensure its viability to our farmers and entrepreneurs. The legalization of the cannabis has laid the groundwork to tap into the readily expanding market. However, the highly regulated nature of the industry, the competitiveness, the legal uncertainties, and the lack of access to capital remain a major barrier, especially for small-scale farmers and emerging entrepreneurs. The majority may not have the financial capacity to meet the stringent licensing and regulatory requirements. Many of our farmers and small business owners are already working in a fragile economic state, so the risks heavily outweigh the potential rewards. The viability in St. Vincent and the Grenadines rests on the ability to overcome these challenges and capitalize on existing opportunities. Unless these hurdles are addressed, partnerships, cooperative efforts, and innovation will play an integral part if the most is to be made of this emerging market. Until then, the cannabis sector remains an illusory, exigent, and challenging path for those seeking viable economic opportunities in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I thank you.
Another round of applause for Nia McLaurin. Nia spoke for 9 minutes and 3 seconds. While we give the judges time to tally their scores, before we invite the second speaker, I will just go over the judging criteria for the main topic. Material, 20 points. Manner, 10 points. Language, 10 points. Voice, 10 points. A total of 50 points. I would also like to encourage the audience to give our participants your full attention. It's not an easy task to come up here and speak, okay? All right, judges, are you ready? Okay, so let us welcome from the St. Martin Secondary School, Alexander Cummins.
It's a little bit higher. A little bit higher. It's a tiny bit. This one as well. Chairperson, representative of Flow St. Vincent and the Grenadines, representative of the Ministry of Education and National Reconciliation, Lion President Janelle George, other distinguished Lions, principals and teachers, judges, the media, listeners and viewers, ladies and gentlemen, students and fellow participants, good afternoon. The medicinal cannabis industry was established in December of 2018 when the government called for legislation to be passed in our parliament, thus enacting the Medicinal Cannabis Industry Act. It was a buzz. The ganja farmer was finally going to have his day. The leading herb of the nation was going to assume its rightful place. The government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines answered the CARICOM recommendation outlined in a research document done by Professor Rosemarie Bella Antoine, Waiting to Exhale, and extracted that cannabis for medicinal purposes was our only option. Not for recreation, not for fun. After all, healing can bring you joy, but a medical doctor should be involved. Today, I am asked to assess the viability of the cannabis industry to farmers and emerging entrepreneurs. I wish to say categorically that the cannabis industry is already viable for its current stakeholders and there is a bright future ahead, but this is not without its challenges. When our country took that pivotal step in 2018, the Medicinal Cannabis Authority, MCA, attracted two types of farmers. The traditional cultivators of cannabis, our die-hard ganja farmers, most of whom are Rastafarian brothers and sisters. And new entrants, persons who once farmed banana, yams, and other ground provisions who now wish to enter the market. Madam Chair, the legalization and destigmatizing of medicinal cannabis brought with it regulatory requirements such as obtaining licenses, adhering to strict documentation processes, and maintaining detailed reporting. Thus, traditional farming practices could not suffice. With this new dispensation, the process of obtaining licenses to cultivate cannabis is straightforward and relatively inexpensive, creating a legal pathway for farmers and traditional cultivators to diversify their crops and engage in this emerging market. More so, local producers benefit from import concessions on the equipment and supplies required for cannabis production. This initiative lowers the cost of essential inputs, enabling farmers to invest more in their operations and improve product quality, and in so doing, position our country to compete globally and regionally. Additionally, the MCA provides technical support to producers and distributors alike. For instance, they host seminars that cover crucial topics such as health and safety regulations, best cultivation practices, and marketing strategies. These allow for increased productivity and sustainability within the industry. They empower stakeholders to make informed decisions, thereby reducing their cost of production. Moreover, the Medicinal Cannabis Industry Act of 2018 supports alternative sustainable livelihoods so that cannabis cultivators can diversify their production and set up additional income streams. Madam Chair, Part 2, Item 30, Number 3D, instructs that the authority shall, and I quote, fund alternative livelihood programs for persons who have been granted amnesty in accordance with the provisions of the Cannabis Cultivation Amnesty Act 2018, end quotation. In fact, the major investors have found export markets in Europe, and keeping in line with their corporate responsibilities, they have entered into agreements with several traditional cultivators and groups to purchase their cannabis and explore possibilities for market diversification. This expands our reach beyond medicinal markets and taps into markets for associated products, such as wellness products, cosmetics, and industrial hemps. Madam Chair, the distinction must be made clear that St. Vincent and Grenadines' cannabis industry is branded and traded as medicinal cannabis, and thus it has attracted significant research and development to the island. It is not a recreation-oriented industry. It targets the use of cannabis to cure several ailments as outlined in the Cannabis Act. Part 1 of the Act identifies some qualifying medical conditions for cannabis use as the following, and I quote, pain associated with cancer, severe and treatment-resistant nausea and vomiting due to chemotherapy, Parkinson's disease, HIV/AIDS, autism, asthma, and depression, end quotation. According to data from the Ministry of Agriculture, the patient access component of the industry has provided healthcare support for 37 patients in 2021, 205 in 2022, 443 in 2023, and 584 patients so far in 2024. Madam Chair, certainly this is evidence of a viable industry. This evolving landscape presents a unique opportunity for local farmers. With a burgeoning market of new demanding patients, there is a necessity to produce more cannabis locally. Imagine the scandal if for some reason we snuffed out this initiative and relied on imported cannabis to service this new crop of patients. St. Vincent, import weed? It would be a downright shame and disgrace. However, Madam Chair, the viability of the industry cannot be measured in only dollars and cents. The industry has revolutionized the lives of hundreds of farmers who for years had to sleep in a tent on the Soufrière Mountain away from their children and loved ones. More importantly, without the industry's framework, young men and women went missing at sea in scores trying to sell weed illegally to neighboring islands. The industry now provides a platform for individuals to register and grow in open field or shade houses in a fully regulated and protected system. Now, many entrepreneurs who never had anything to do with cannabis are participating in the cannabis value chain. In fact, Madam Chair, believe it or not, this November, for the first time in the history of this island, we will host a Cannabis Festival. This initiative will attract scholars from around the world, ministers of governments, investors, and of course, our Rastafari brothers and sisters. It will be an activity with immense economic opportunities. Who ever thought that persons would be able to declare to customs and immigration upon their arrival that the purpose of their visit is to attend the Cannabis Festival? I assure you that a mere 10 years ago, before this legislation and industry, the police would grab you by the pants and escort you accordingly. Whether or not we are comfortable in admitting it, Madam Chair, the times have changed for the better. However, the quest to develop a viable cannabis industry is not without its challenges. Madam Chair, it is in this regard that I place for consideration the following recommendations. 1. The Cannabis Authority should build upon the support Cannabis Authority should build upon this support. It is in this regard that I place for consideration the following recommendations. 1. The Cannabis Authority should build upon this support. It is in this regard that I place for consideration the following recommendation. 1. The Cannabis Authority should build upon this support. It is for consideration the following recommendation. 1. The Cannabis in place. Disasters such as Hurricane Beryl, the farmers could get the help needed to recover quickly from this special fund. Let us set up the fund and watch it grow green like the herb of life. In fact, Madam Chair, Caribbean Loop News reported on September 10th, 2024, that the Minister of Agriculture, the Honorable Subotu Caesar, and the MCA met with the farmers and distributors of cannabis to offer direct production support to the tune of $250,000 after the passing of Hurricane Beryl. This most definitely is a step in the right direction. For me, today's debate is not whether or not the cannabis industry is viable. It is already creating waves. Testament to this, the industry currently employs hundreds of persons. It has issued licenses to 12 pharmacists and 14 pharmacies, which allows them to dispense medicinal cannabis, and it harvests an average of 42 acres of land nationally. In conclusion, there is absolutely no doubt as to the viability of the cannabis industry for farmers and emerging entrepreneurs. Like any other business, however, those who survive are those who are willing to follow good business principles, be dedicated to their farmers, work with the Cannabis Authority and within their guidelines, and in so doing, extract significant wealth. Madam Chair, for me, this topic could not be more personal. I was raised in Trinidad and Tobago until the age of 9, when I was brought here by my parents, one of whom works in regulation of the industry. So I know that the cannabis industry is a viable one. It is, after all, my livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you, Alexander Cummins. And Alexander spoke for 9 minutes, 4 seconds. Another round of applause for both our participants. And that concludes our main topic segment. Our 2 participants from the Canawan Secondary School and the St. Martin Secondary School, they spoke on the topic, can the cannabis industry be considered a viable proposition for farmers and emerging entrepreneurs? As we prepare for our impromptu segment, I will now go over the rules, the bell rules for the impromptu segment. The first bell will ring when the participant takes the podium after selecting his or her topic. The second bell at the end of 1 minute, the participant would then begin presenting, and the third and final bell at the end of the 3rd minute. So participants, you have 2 minutes to present, 1 minute to prepare. And later on this afternoon, we would have a media release where we would announce the name of our finalists. That would be held in November. So stay tuned to the various media platforms. I will now invite Nia McLaurian from the Canawan Secondary School to select a topic. And Nia will be speaking on La Soufrière, our volcano. La Soufrière.
Protocol having already been established. Good afternoon. I will be speaking on the topic La Soufrière, our volcano. Now, let me just start off by speaking about my experience in La Soufrière in 2021. Now, I was there, imagine, at nighttime, Thursday night, you being home in your house, hearing on the radio, evacuate, evacuate. Now, I'm from Sandy Bay, our countryside, and I'm very much exposed to La Soufrière. Imagine hearing evacuate, evacuate. All I'm hearing beep, beep, pop, pop outside my house all the time. Now, my family, they are very stubborn people, so they didn't want to evacuate. Friday morning, you're hearing people outside outside bathing, soap from head to toe, and then next thing you know, I'll see ashes coming from everywhere. Ashes like rain. You're hearing pow pow like it's just like it's gunshots. Now, my experience from La Soufrière, it wasn't a very pleasant experience. Now, just imagine being born in 1970s. That's where my mother was born. Imagine being born and experiencing that for yourself. Me personally, I wouldn't have liked it at all because I didn't enjoy it in 2021 at all. Our volcano is where tourists, people go to sightsee. Now, let's not talk about Lava Man. Let us not talk about Lava Man. When he went up there, he wanted to play brave. After the volcano done erupt, he gone up there like Mr. I don't know who. But that was my experience on La Soufrière. I thank you.
Thank you, Nia. And Nia spoke for 2 minutes, 10 seconds. 2 minutes, 10 seconds. And earlier this afternoon, we had presentations from students in Zone 1 and Zone 3. Zone 1 spoke on the topic, is CARICOM exerting its best efforts in natural hazards, preparedness, and the management of natural disasters. And Zone 3 spoke on the topic, for developing countries, hosting of global events can only result in benefits. As we continue with Zone 4's judging, would ask Alexander Cummins from the St. Martin Secondary School to select his topic from the envelope. Okay, Alexander will speak on the topic, fast food. Fast food.
The protocol having already been established. Good afternoon. My topic today is fast food. Now, fast food we can talk all day about. First of all, we can talk about what we have here in St. Vincent. Things like KFC, Subway. The only two we have in St. Vincent, well, if we go to the US, we have McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Burger King. These things are all extremely unhealthy, but liked by most of the population because of their salts and their taste. I personally am a enjoyer of fast food. I think I eat it a bit too much, but like I said before, it is extremely unhealthy because of all the fats, the fried foods, the fried chickens, the chips, the fried burgers sometimes I've seen. You put a pizza on top of a piece of fried chicken like KFC has been doing. And these things are detrimental to your health. You can become obese, you can get hypertension. And instead of eating these fast foods, you should be eating fruits and veg, where you have apples, bananas, and these foods have nutrients and minerals and vitamins that keep your body healthy, keep you in shape, keep you fit, and allow you to perform daily tasks easily. Now, like I said, I like fast food, but I think I should be eating more fruits, and I encourage you to do the same. Thank you. I think I should be eating more fruits, and I encourage you to do the same. Thank you. But I think I should be eating more fruits, and I encourage you to do
Now invite our President, Lion Janil George, to make presentation of certificates of participation for those who are present here. St. Vincent Girls High School, Mia Bailey. Raj Balls, Dr. J.P. Eustace Memorial Secondary School.